Okay, welcome back. We've done a little bit of our editing on our project. We've got first handful of clips on the timeline. I haven't got them totally, you know, exactly the way I want them done, but I'm just trying to get everything on the timeline so I have the full scene and then I can go and tidy up my cuts. Um, the next thing we're going to do is deal with some audio syncing issues with the close-up shots, shot 29A and B. So take a look at this. I'm going to put this in point at the beginning. Okay, hold on a second. Got to get the sound coming out here. Okay, so totally not in sync, right? Well, we got to get this down on a timeline and we have to change the timing of the audio, but we are also going to be doing a multi-camera editing with this. So let's take care of both of those birds with one stone at one time. All right, and what I'm talking about here is if we were only going to use this clip and we weren't going to be using it in multi-camera, we could just pull it down here and then unlink this audio and video. So the way you link and unlink audio and video is by selecting them and then hitting Command L. Watch what happens to this little parenthesis here, this V. So if I hit Command L, that V goes away, which means it's video by itself. It's not linked to anything. Okay, and that'll allow me to find the place where they would be synced up.
What are you doing? Why are you standing right there? You are right in the way. Wait.
Okay, so the audio is behind the video, right? So let's slide. We can either slide the video later to try and sync it up, or slide the audio earlier. So I'm gonna just move the video clip.
What are you doing? Why are you?
Now it's early. All right. So here's how you can nudge a clip on the timeline a little bit at a time. Okay. So right now I've got snapping on, which is causing this to automatically move a full second or more, depending on my zoom in or out on the timeline. I could zoom way in and move it in smaller increments, or I can type in the number of frames that I want it to nudge. So I can type on my numeric number pad plus 12. And what that would do is move it to the right 12 frames. If I type in another 2, then that would be 1 second and 22 frames. Okay, so let me just click on it down here and do plus 12, hit enter, and that just nudged it over 12 frames. Okay, so if I start getting close,
Standing right there. You are right in the way. Wait.
Okay, so that's your fault. No, the video is actually late. So I'm going to type minus 100. That'll be 1 second.
Don't I know you? I swear I know.
Still off by a little bit.
The audio's late, isn't it? Okay, I'm going the wrong direction. Plus 12.
Oh yeah.
Okay, plus 10.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's still a little bit off. There's not really anything happening where this is one of the reasons why in movie sets you have the little clapboard that does the click and they say take one, snap. It's because that snap on the clapboard visually will coincide with a peak in the audio. And if you have sound syncing issues, all you have to do is find the frame where that thing clicks and the point in the audio where that matches up with that frame, and you've resynced your audio. but we didn't do that. So we're trying to just do our best to get it in sync. So it's pretty close right now.
What are you doing? Why are you standing right there? You were right in the way. Wait.
Okay, so it's pretty close right now, right? It's not perfect, but it's pretty close. So that's how you do that. So if you run into, now, if I want to marry this audio and this video back together, I select it all and then hit Command L again, and now they're all tied together. And it'll give you this warning, hey, this is 16 frames out of sync with the video, but it's like, yeah, we know we did that on purpose to fix it. Thanks, computer. Thanks, recorder, for recording that out of sync. All right, so now I know it's about I know it's about 16 frames off. So now let's go ahead and start our multi-camera editing process. So to do this, we need to select both camera A and camera B for shot 29 in our project. Before I do that, I want to make sure that I have the entire clip. So I'm going to double click on shot A, and yes, I have the whole clip loaded in. I don't have any in or out points. So double click on shot B. I don't have any in or out points set for this one either. All right. So hold down Shift, select both shot A and B, and then right click on them. And we are going to create a multi-camera source sequence. So click on that and we got a bunch of options. Now, because we recorded this on an external recorder that recorded both cameras at the same time, we can set these the syncing as the endpoint for both of them. Okay. If you have two cameras that you hit record on at different times, but they were both recording audio, then you can have Premiere analyze the audio of both clips and sync them together that way. If you don't have either of those, if your camera is recording it at different times, but only one of them is recording audio, but you did have that clipboard, then you can set an endpoint on both of those clips on that frame where the click happens.
I'm sorry, how did you get to that?
And then that will sync it up. The way I got to that was I selected clip 00029A and B in my project panel, right-clicked, and selected Create Multi-Camera Source Sequence.
Does it have to be in the list? Can it be in thumbnail? Because mine's not doing that when I right-click it.
Hold on, let me come help you. So I've got both of these selected, right-click, Create Multi-Camera Sequence. I'm going to go ahead and use endpoints because both of these clips don't have an endpoint set anywhere other than the beginning of the clip. So let's go down to the next section. Sequence preset. This can be automatic. That's fine. Or it'll be based on the clips themselves. This move source clips to processed clips bin. What Premiere will do is create a new bin for you so that any clip that's been put into a multi-camera sequence, it'll move those clips just in your project to organize them in their own folder. That's just if everything you're shooting is multi-camera and you want to verify that you've created multi-camera sequences with every clip, that's when you would do that. So I'm going to turn that off just for my own. I want to be in control of my own organization. And camera 1, we can change this, but we know that the B camera was the one that has the audio. So I'm going to use audio sequence settings, switch audio. So we'll be able to switch audio. Yeah, I think I'm doing this right. And then we can just call it camera 1 or camera 2, which is fine. Or we can name the tracks and have that be the names of the cameras. So, everybody with me?
How'd you get to the multicam setup thing like that?
I selected clip 29, A and B. Get them both selected in your project panel. Right click on them. Create multi-camera source sequence. I can rename this clip 29. That'll help me. All right, so click OK. And now, I forgot to deselect that process clips thing, but that's fine. So then we get this icon down here that looks pretty similar to the sequence icon, but this icon means this is a multi-camera sequence. Okay, so let's double click on that, and it'll bring up your 4 different camera views, and you can preview them with each other as though they were the same one. Okay, so that's pretty cool, right?
Yeah.
So what do we do with that? Did you say nah? Nah. But I need to make sure these 2 cameras are synced up together, and that the audio is timed correctly. So I need to right click on this and open it in a timeline. And that'll open it up over here in your timeline panel. So what we need to do is just make sure that our audio is synced up and verify that our 2 camera angles are playing at the same time as well. So play this.
Wait!
That's your fault.
Wait. Don't I know you?
Okay, so it's definitely off, right?
Good looking picture of you right there.
So I'm going to select the clip on track A, repeat what I did earlier, and hit Command L to unlink that audio. And then I'm going to grab both of these video clips and type in +16, and hopefully that'll work. And hopefully yours are doing the same thing.
Why are you standing right there? You were right in the way!
Okay, so that's good. His is in sync. Question? Okay. Now let's look at the angle on her. The way I'm going to do this is, see this little eyeball? That toggles the visibility of that track. Just like Photoshop turns on and off layers. And now I'm going to play this, make sure that she's in sync too.
Why are you standing right there? You were right in the way!
Okay, so they're in sync, right? And the way we'd be able to verify that, it's kind of harder with a close-up angle, but if there was some sort of motion happening, you could check, visual cues, you could check different audio cues, like if one of them snapped their finger or clapped their hands, but this is just dialogue, so it's a little bit harder. And the other way you would be able to check to make sure that your audio is in sync is you'd see like these little peaks in the audio everywhere there was a visual or audio cue, like a hand clap or a snap or something like that. But because it's all dialogue, it's not quite as defined. All right, now we have 2 things in our timeline. So these are different tabs in our timeline panel. This is my edit. And anytime I want to go back and make little tweaks to my multi-camera sequence, I can just click on it over here. Okay, so this is a sequence. So I could actually come in here and do full editing in here if I wanted to. But what we need to do is get this multi-camera sequence to show up in our edit as a single clip. And the way to do that is simply to drag it into the timeline, and it shows up as a green clip. Okay, is everybody with me? So when I was talking before about having a really long film where you have multiple scenes, you could edit each scene onto its own sequence, and then you create a new master sequence that you then just plop each scene down in the timeline, and they'll just show up as a single clip like this that you can move around and rearrange. Okay, and then you can also cut this, trim this, ripple edit, slip, slide, roll, stop, drop, and roll, just like you would a normal clip. Okay, question?
When I drop mine in, it shows like a whole bunch of audio tracks.
Do you have, so he said when he dropped his in, he has all these audio tracks going way down beyond here. Do you have all these blue?
Well, it's still just the 2 channels, but it seems like each one has like 8 tracks in it.
Oh, really? Interesting. Okay, let's come take a look. Okay, next up, we now need to set this up for multi-camera editing because this is where the magic happens. In your interface here, in your program panel, this panel right here, on the bottom right-hand corner of that panel, you have this add button. Click on that. Select this little toggle multi-camera view thing and drag this down and place it right here. Drop it right there so we can have access to it. Then click OK. Now what we're going to do is we're going to select that little icon, and that will bring up our multi-camera editing view.
Maybe.
There it is. Now watch what happens. If I start playing, see how this box is yellow? That's the active camera right now. If I hit spacebar and start playing this clip, when I start clicking on camera B, it turns red. That means I've just made a cut. Now if I click back to A, it makes another cut. Click back to B, A, B, A, B, A, B, A, B. Hit spacebar to stop it. Look at my timeline. It just did all those cuts. So let's watch it.
What are you doing? Why are you standing right there? You were right in the way. Wait. Don't I know you?
Okay.
Jeez.
Okay, so you can. That doesn't always mean you should. All right, all of that stuff from play to stop, all of those actions are considered one action in Premiere. So if I hit Command Z, all that stuff goes away. Okay. So if I'm making multi-camera cuts and I mess up, how do I fix it?
Start over.
Nah, it's not practical. Like, let's say you watch something for 5 minutes and you do all these cuts and then you stop and you're like, make one mistake. Let's talk about that. So I'm gonna do my best to cut this together with just going back and forth.
What are you doing? Why are you standing right there? You were right in the way. Wait. Don't I know you? I swear I know you from somewhere.
Oh yeah, African Safari 2009. How are you doing?
Good. Yeah. Do you remember how drunk my dad got?
No, but do you remember that rhino that came next to us?
Yes, I do. Unfortunately, I do. That's not good. Not good.
Okay, so that's probably about enough of that clip. So I made a mistake that I can think of right now, but it's kind of like a rough cut, right? So now this is where your rolling tool comes in real handy, because I was already on her face.
Yeah. Good. Yeah. Do you remember how drunk my dad got?
So I cut to her a little early, right? We'd want to wait till after his question before cutting to her. So now if I put my mouse over this intersection right here, hold down Command, roll it. I just fixed that cut.
Yeah. Do you remember how drunk my dad got?
No, you just delete that.
I could delete it, but that leaves me with nothing.
Oh no, I mean like.
Put it back together. Like
Oh yeah, you can put it back together. Let me see. So this program is different than another program that I use. All right. If the playhead is over a clip, you can just click on the alternate angle and it'll change that clip to that angle.
Oh, really?
Okay, yeah.
That's cool.
If you do that in another program, you have to have the playhead at the beginning of the clip because it'll put a cut. So yeah, yes, that's the other program.
What do you prefer, Final Cut or Premiere?
Today, Premiere.
Depends on the day.
Because I'm teaching it today, I actually use Final Cut more.
Yeah.
Yeah, much more. Question?
When I tried to drag my multi-clip into the sequence, I didn't get any sound.
No sound? Okay. If you're not getting sound, then if you might need to select your sound in the timeline, right click on it, and then wait for the beach ball. Come on, right click. There we go. Now we got the beach ball. Under multi-camera settings, you might just need to tell the audio to be the other camera angle. Here we go. Multi-camera. I don't think that's what I'm looking for. You might need to go into this. Okay, check this out. Because this green clip is another sequence that has now been nested into this sequence, if I double click on this clip, it'll open up that sequence. Just kidding, I lied. You gotta click over to the tab. Wait a second, there's gotta be a way to do this. There, hold down Command and double click on the clip and it'll open that into the timeline. So now I think all you're gonna need to do you have M's?
No. I don't have the blue square showing either.
You don't have any of that stuff? It's probably got something to do with this, and I probably want to have these muted because this is camera B.
Excuse me? What are you doing? Why are you standing right there?
Whoa.
You are right in the way.
That's your fault.
Wait.
Okay, that's actually the audio that I need. So all of yours kind of came in a little bit different than mine did. One of you had like all your audio tracks on one, all this audio on one track. So we need to get B's audio playing. So let me just check right now if my B audio is playing. See, now mine's gone. Okay. Let me figure this out off camera because I can't really remember how to do this. Okay, so just to review, I undid everything and I'm gonna do this little part over again. This isn't changing. I'm going to select my shots A and B, right click on them, create multi-camera source sequence. We've done that a few times. Just going to call this one clip 29. I am going to deselect the move source clips into processed clips bin. And then I am just going to let this be automatic. Okay. From endpoints, okay. So now I'm going to right click on this new multi-clip sequence, open that in the timeline, and I'm going to select both my shot B and shot A. Let me expand this out so you can see what's going on. The tilde underneath the escape key, that'll expand whatever panel you have activated to your whole screen. So let's pretend I don't have enough room to work with this timeline in this little space. The tilde will expand that out. All right. So if I select B and A, they're both linked to their respective audios right now. So I'm going to select both of them, hit Command L to unlink them, select the A and the B clip, and type in +16 on my numeric keypad, hit enter, and that will adjust for the out of sync audio. Now, right now, I'm interested in B's audio. So, and it's muted. So I'm going to turn on the B audio and then mute the A audio. Don't ask me why there's this extra audio track in A. But I'm interested in the audio from camera B. All right. So I'm going to tilde that back down and go back to my hallway scene and drop my multi-camera sequence into my timeline.
Right in the way.
That's your fault.
Okay, and even though I can't see it right now, my waveforms, they should be visible here, but they're not. But I can hear it well enough, right? So I'm going to do my multi-camera edit again. So hit play.
Excuse me.
What are you doing? Why are you standing
What's
right
wrong
there?
with you? I'm standing
You
there.
are
Why
right
would
in
you
the
bump into me?
way.
That's your
Wait,
fault.
wait, wait. Don't I know you?
No,
I
I don't
swear
think
I know
so.
you from somewhere.
Oh yeah, African Safari 2009.
Yeah,
How you
yeah,
doing?
good. Yeah. Do you remember how drunk my dad got?
No, but do you remember that rhino that came birth next to us?
Yes, I do. Unfortunately, I do. That was not good. Not okay.
All right. So I did sort of good on it. Now, what part are we interested in? We need to find the place where we cut to that shot of her. So I've got like my little multi-camera edit going down here. I'm going to go back to earlier and push play. Just see.
Why are you standing there? What are you doing?
What do you mean? I'm standing there. Why would you bump
You are
into
right
me?
in the way of everybody.
That's your fault.
Wait, don't I know you?
Okay, there.
Yes.
Okay, right before it goes back to her. So I'm going to cut there, hit C, cut that, hit V, select all that stuff and get rid of it.
But you want to cut it where the playhead is, not where the cut is.
I want to, well, I just want to cut after he's done speaking sometime. Pacing, I'll figure out the pacing of the cut once I get them next to each other. So now we need to find that same part. Don't I know you from somewhere?
Why are you standing
What's
right
wrong
there?
with you? I'm standing
You
there.
are
Why
right
would you
in
bump
the
into me?
way.
That's your
Wait,
fault.
wait. Don't I know you?
No,
I
I don't.
swear.
So it's right here. So need to hit B for blade and cut that stuff. V for selection, grab that, delete that. Okay, remind me how I get rid of this space in between this clip and this clip. So I can select that space, delete it. There. Okay, let's see how they fit.
Everybody.
That's your fault.
Wait, don't I know you?
No,
I
I don't
swear
think
I know
so.
you from somewhere.
Oh yeah, African Safari 2009.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna roll this cut back because I want to get her, oh yeah. So hold down Command till I get the rolling edit tool. And then maybe get this one a little earlier as well.
You?
No,
I
I don't
swear
think
I know
so.
you from somewhere.
Oh yeah, African Safari 2009.
Yeah.
How you doing?
Good. Yeah. Do you remember how drunk my dad got?
No, but do you remember that rhino that gave birth next to us?
Yes, I do.
Remember that rhino that gave birth next to us?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Unfortunately, I do. That was not good.
Not good. I'm gonna cut this right after not good. Now, one thing that happened while I was doing this multi-camera cut is as soon as we started cutting back and forth, all this video became like solo, like independent clips from the audio. The only clip that the audio is connected, well, actually it's not even connected to the beginning anymore because I deleted the beginning. But this is where I want the cut to happen. So with my blade tool or my cut tool, if I hold down shift, I can make sure that it's going to cut through all the audio in the video at that point when I make my cut. Okay. So if I hit my selection, V for selection, grab all this stuff and delete it. So now I need to pick how I want to end this scene. We got a few options. The option I want to go with, I'm going to double click on my video bin and use my thumbnail view, because he walks away here and just like keeps walking, and we hear him continue to mutter to himself as he's walking away. We also have there's this reverse angle from this take where he walks away, but we're kind of technically crossing the line. But I don't know, it might be good because he's all uncomfortable suddenly and then she just kind of walks away. Or we could cut back to the two shot of the two of them talking, which is down. Got two different. This one. Her angle of this to have him kind of walk away. This is clip 28A. Okay, does anybody have any votes? What would make the most sense? Because we can't, I mean, we could, but I don't want to have him get all close to the camera like that, out of focus. And
Why not?
we're just looking at the back of her shoulder. And
Why not cut on the multicam to her though? Because there's a split second when I'm walking in front, and then you cut to her, and I'm not in either frame.
okay, let me trim this out, cut it there, put the playhead over this, and switch to her angle. Okay, so there's one vote. Let's try it.
It was not good.
Well,
That's actually a pretty good reaction from her. She's like, oh.
I got it on mine to be where I'm not in like either frame, and it looks good to me.
Okay, let me just pull this audio out a little bit. Guess what? We can try multiple options. We just put the other options on the tracks above, right? Let's try it. So let's try cutting to this one. Okay, she does a pretty good reaction there too. Let's just drag this video only for now and see how that looks. Try this.
Fortunately, I knew that was.
Oh, now that I'm done with my multi-camera editing, this is going to get annoying to look at, right? Let's just toggle that off. So I can just watch this.
Fortunately, I knew that was not good, not okay. It was gross.
In fact, the audio from that take kind of works for her little, oh.
Not okay. It was gross.
Okay, so there's another option. Let's just take a look at all the options. Let's go back to, I think it, was it 15?
Yeah.
Okay, we got 15. Let's look at this one as an option.
Not cool in any way, shape, or form. So cool in any way, shape, or form. It was disgusting. It stinky. The thing was huge.
Okay, let's drag, I'm going to drag both the audio and the video down for this one. See how this works. Okay, I'm going to put it over here just because, actually put it up on this track because I don't want that audio to overwrite the existing audio. I want to see them both. So I'm going to just drag it up to an above track so that audio can be saved. All right, let's just see how this looks.
The idea that was not good, not okay in any way, shape, or form. It was disgusting.
Okay, so let's find the place where we really should cut to him.
Cool in any way, shape, or form. It was just
Maybe any way, shape, or form. If we cut right here, let's try this.
The idea that was not good, disgusting, okay. Gross, stinky. Thing was huge.
All right. So let's mute the audio for that one. Put that video on the next track up. And what was the other option? I said to go to the reverse angle. This one? See how this one works.
But I do remember the rhino that gave.
Awful. No. No, just no, not okay. No.
Right? See that?
No. No, bad.
Okay, so you could end the scene there too. Drag this down. I'm going to drag it above again, but then I'm going to drag this audio down and pull them over this way. So we have some options. Competing audio, I'm going to just trim this back so that we can see how it looks.
Idea that was not good. No, just no, not okay. No.
Right? See that?
No. No.
No. All right, now let's audition things. Let's turn this layer off, or this track, and remind ourselves what this one looks like.
The idea that was not good. It was disgusting. It stinky. The thing was huge. It was awful. I just didn't know. No.
Okay. We could use a combination of them. We could trim this one back this way a little bit. Use both.
Yeah, that was not good. Not okay. It was gross. Stinky. The thing was huge. It was awful.
Okay, so now that we've got all these different things on, we got all the pieces on the table, we can just kind of like keep shifting them around until we arrive at the edit that we want. And we don't have to keep all the editing on track number 1. We can just start placing other tracks above. You can even, if you have other clips on this track that you're using, but you're it's called auditioning. You're trying this clip out, but you don't want to be turning the whole track on and off. You can do it on a clip-by-clip basis. So if I don't want to use this one, I can right-click on it and disenable it, and that'll just gray it out. Okay, so that you can turn clips on and turn clips off depending on what you want to try to use or not. Okay, so the key to this scene is to figure out a way, once he starts walking past her, to piece together the end. One option was to cut straight to this shot. One option is to go to this shot and then this shot, and one is to go straight to that shot. And we could either end on, just let this end on this shot, they make their exit, we fade to black, and that's the end of the scene. Or we don't use that shot, use only this shot, and then once just this clip goes on a lot longer, and we can do a slower fade out as he's walking away from the camera, depending on the comedic effect, you know, how funny you want it to be and what you think is more funny. So those are all the decisions you get to make as the editor. Okay. All right. That's the multi-camera and sound syncing. Let's see how long we're at right now. Oh, sweet. All right, last thing we need to do for today's lesson is talk about our sound levels and getting, this scene was kind of interesting because they're talking over each other a lot. So we're gonna have to deal with that. But let's pretend one actor just talked louder than the other actor, and or we have this issue where we have an interaction happening, but this clip is a stereo audio clip where her microphone is coming out of the left channel and his microphone's coming out of the right. So let's take a look at this.
Why are you standing there? What?
Okay, so when he's talking, this right side of the audio meter is bouncing up high and hers is low, but she's still talking. We need to be able to adjust that. So let's Alt select this audio to select only the audio. And we need to create a duplicate of that audio so that we can say, this clip, play only her microphone. Other clip, play only his microphone. Okay. There are a couple of different ways you can do this. I can hit Command C and then move my playhead back to the beginning of this and hit Command V, but it just pasted it over itself. This is where your target track comes in handy. If I turn this one off and this one on, then if I hit Command, there, I always get confused by these, but then I just pasted that over the top of that. So I'm going to undo that again and just make sure these two are armed, and that's where it'll go. Okay. So it's kind of the same for dropping stuff onto the timeline. When you're pasting, you can specify which track you want things to be pasted onto. Here's another way to do that. With your selection tool, Alt select that clip, hold down Alt, then click on the clip and drag down. It will create a duplicate of it. Okay, so if you're holding down Option or Alt while you do that, it'll create a duplicate of that clip in your timeline. Okay, much easier than the copy paste option, in my opinion. Now what we need to do is we need to tell this clip to only play her audio, this clip to only play his audio. So right click on it, right click on the top one, go to Audio Channels, select Audio Channels, and now we're just going to say, instead of left and right, say both left. Click OK. Do the opposite for the duplicate. Select the duplicated audio clip, right click on it, go to Audio Channels, and now make both of these right. Before I click OK, watch what's going to happen down here to these waveforms. See, they both turn into his microphone. Okay, now we can adjust each of these independent of one another. So we can turn his microphone down, turn her microphone up, so that they both sound like they belong together in the same room. Okay, and we kind of went over this a little bit last time, that with the pen tool you can add keyframes to these envelopes or this rubber band. I like to call them rubber bands sometimes because I think of the keyframes as like nails on a little cork board that you're bending the rubber bands over. So, so let's turn her up a little bit because this is her. And then maybe turn him down because he's being so much more loud. And then just listen to it. And now you'll see that both audio channels are going to be bouncing together instead of different audio channels for different actors.
Excuse me?
Why are you standing there?
What's wrong
What
with
are
you?
you doing?
What do you mean? I'm standing there. Why would you?
Okay, they're both kind of loud. Do you want to know how I know? See these red marks? That means the audio is getting too loud. Okay, so I'm going to turn both of them down. I can delete keyframes just by selecting them and deleting them. So I'm going to turn her down a little bit, turn him down quite a bit, because he's really loud. Loud mouth.
Excuse me?
Why are you standing there?
What's wrong
What
with
are
you?
you doing?
What do you mean? I'm standing there. Why would you bump
You are
into
right.
me?
Okay, so this will allow us now, because remember before how we were like, we've got like double audio from her right here, and then she's talking right here. He's finishing his line. let's take the end of her line here, go to our pen tool, P for pen, add a keyframe here, add a keyframe here, and turn this down. And then she won't have like two instances where she's kind of talking over herself from different clips or from different takes. And when you're doing difficult cuts like this, where you've got like different audio sources or maybe different takes that you're trying to mesh together, when you can overlap slightly like this, it helps the audio transition so that you don't hear a hard cut in the audio. Because let's pretend we were shooting this with the shotgun microphone and the boom operator had to point the microphone from a different angle in different takes. Well, just changing the angle at which you're shooting will change the background noise of the scene. And if you just did a straight cut from one shot to the next, just the sound in the room would change. And being able to overlap audio this way, like I'm doing here, helps that. Another thing is, if I drag his audio out a little bit, this gives me a good opportunity to kind of fade his audio out as well, because if I left it right here, he's kind of in the middle of making noise with his voice right here. And if I just cut this short, it might be more abrupt than we want it to be. So I'm going to put that here and just add a couple more keyframes here to kind of turn his volume down right at the end of that, so that it just kind of weaves the audio cuts together so that they're not as noticeable. So listen to this.
Excuse me?
Why are you standing there?
What's wrong with
What are
you?
you doing?
What do you mean? I'm standing there. Why would you bump
You are
into
right
me?
in the way of everybody.
That's your fault.
Okay, that's your fault. They're both kind of yelling at each other still.
Why'd you
You
bump
are
into
right in
me?
the way.
And even though we recorded this kind of hot, the levels are pretty hot. They're not going into the red, so that's good. Now let's watch this cut and just see how they sound.
I know you.
No,
I
I don't
swear
think
I know
so.
you from somewhere.
Okay, so that was actually, if I had headphones on, I would be able to know if the cut from this one to this one is a hard cut. Now we can add, we haven't gotten into transitions yet, but we can add a dissolve, because these two are butted right up against each other. We could add a dissolve so that it does a slight crossfade from one shot to the other, just in case there is background noise that's changing here. But it's pretty quiet, and in the speakers in this room, I can't really hear the cut. So it might be okay just doing a straight cut.
Wait, don't I know you?
No,
I
I don't
swear
think
I know
so.
you from somewhere.
Oh yeah, African Safari 2009. How you doing?
Good.
Okay, so they're both getting loud again. So we could probably, what we should do is go through this entire scene maybe. Turn him down a little bit, turn him down a lot, turn her down a little bit, so that when they both start talking over each other, the levels don't go red again. So let's listen to this.
How you doing?
Good. Yeah. Do you remember how drunk my dad got?
No, but do you remember that rhino that gave birth next to us?
Yes, I do. Unfortunately, I do. That was not good. Not okay. Gross. Stevie.
Okay, so that's a weird cut. Plus, we have this stereo problem again right here. We have her talking out the left, him talking out the right. See, right here, watch the audio meters. It's suddenly going to change. They're even, and now they're separate.
Huge. It was awful. I just didn't know.
And at this point, once she's off the screen, we would want to turn her audio off. We don't need to hear her anymore because we're just listening to him. Walk away. We could even, like, as he gets farther and farther away from the camera, we turn his audio down slightly, because that's a little bit more realistic than hearing him right in our ear being far away from us. So let me just do that real quick. I'm going to Alt select the audio here, and then to keep it consistent, I'm going to drag this one up while holding Alt still. Let go, that creates the duplicate. And then because this is still selected, I'm going to drag this up so that this can be his audio, that can be her audio. So I'm going to select the duplicate, right-click it, audio channels, make them both left, click OK, select the bottom one, right-click, audio channels, and make them both right. Now, once she leaves, she just says, "All right, see you, Doug." We can either trim that back and then fade it out with a transition. We'll get into transitions next time or later. And then we can grab our pen tool, and as he's walking away, just slowly turn it down till he's pretty much gone. Now let's listen to this.
Good, not okay. It was gross.
All right,
Stingy.
see it, Doug.
The thing was huge. It was awful. I just didn't know. No. I don't want to think about it. It was gross.
Okay, we need to fade him out sooner. Start him out at a lower volume too.
It was gross.
All right,
Stingy.
see it, Doug.
The thing was huge. It was awful. I just didn't know. No. I don't want to think about it. It was gross.
All right. Any questions about that audio stuff? All right. I don't actually like this cut at the end. I'm going to work on that a little bit. I don't like the timing of it. But any questions right now?
So my audio and the audio channels, they have like numbers, not the left and right.
Channel 1, channel 2?
It goes to like 20.
Oh, interesting.
Actually, it goes to 32.
Oh, sweet. Okay, I'll come help you with that. Hey, that took less time than I thought it would. Good luck audio editing, everybody.
Okay.